Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. It's time for another Capital Catch Up. We missed last week due to the holiday and Mardi Gras, so we're playing a little bit of catch up here. We have 2 weeks to cover, but we're going to hit the ground running, so we're not here too long. So the first thing I want to talk about is we're finally getting to the point in the legislative session where the governor is seeing some bills. He's so far, I think, only signed one or two, so he's going to see a lot, or he has already approved a lot, and these are not like big bills, but we will start with the one big one, which is something we've talked about multiple times. I think basically every time we've had Capital Catch Up, which is House Bill 325. This was the lottery and gaming funding. And if you didn't know, basically 10 years ago, whenever we finally decided we were going to do lottery, we decided that, or the legislator decided that the first 8 million of that would, or 80 million of that would go to MDOT, and then everything after that would need to go to Mississippi education funding. So this has changed that. They revised it after 10 years. It was originally only made to be for 10 years anyways, and they have moved some of those funds around now that MDOT has done a lot of work in the last 10 years. So it basically says that some funding now needs to go into the general fund and some funding needs to go into a different fund. And I think that it was a small amount. I want to say, I think we said 1 million or 3 million each month. So we'll see how that affects MDOT and what they can do in the future. But that is how it's going to go now. And then what else the governor approved was House Bill 641. And these are all just some like very easy things. So January is officially in the state of Mississippi National Blood Donor Month. House Bill 653 makes November 9th Gold Star Father's Day. House Bill 1270 makes April the Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month. And House Bill 1403 makes February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, Veterans with Combat Injuries Day. So that is everything that the governor approved in the last 2 weeks. Now, we have another bill that has been sent to the governor. He has not approved it yet, which was House Bill 431. And this kind of targets the ongoing problem that Mississippi has with not enough dentists. So it basically says that dentist hygienists will now be able to perform activities under general supervision of like regularly licensed and registered dentists and stuff like that without having to meet all the other requirements that they usually do, so long as they are employed by the State Board of Health or public school boards and they are performing oral hygiene, instruction, screening, and public demonstrations for educational purposes. So that is what that says. That just makes it easier for places to hire more dentists and kind of fill that gap there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously, some of the requirements that they have right now is they have to have like a minimum of 5 years of experience, CPR certification. The bill to me was a little vague on which of those requirements they would not need to meet anymore. So I'm going to continue to look into that and see what the governor, what he says about it. So we're going to move on to some of our local bills. So Amelia Scott, if you remember, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. She had a lot of her bills die. She wrote a lot of them died. But she does have one that has been transmitted to the Senate, so we're going to talk about that. That's House Bill 28, and it says that parolees who participate in faith-based or faith-based sponsored activities can get a reduction of time spent on probation. So she had originally wrote 2 bills, this one and another one that says they could get like time served, like time taken off of their sentence. The other one died and this one did not. So this just says that once they're out of the prison, if they're on probation and they are at these faith-based activities, then they could get some of their probation time reduced and get off of that faster. And that is all I have for local bills. But we are going to talk a lot about what died this week because unfortunately a lot has gone to the grave. So the first one was Joey Fillinganes, specifically his bill about mail order abortion, pill ban, died, but another one that's very similar to his did pass in the House. So he still has that going for him. So I'm going to pull his interview where he talked about why he has kind of signed on to bills about this. Basically, what this is, this mail order abortion ban, says that in the state of Mississippi, it is illegal to obtain an abortion if it's not for rape or, to save the mother or for a health reason. So this basically says that by mailing in an abortion pill, that the people who are mailing those in, the people who are facilitating that, are essentially breaking the law because they are allowing that to happen. So he's going to kind of fill in a little bit about the impact of that and more of the specifics.
This would be an enforcement tool to say, okay, if we catch Dr. Jones in Chicago doing a teledoc visit and prescribing abortion drugs and overnighting them into Mississippi, we can go after the doctor, we can go after the pharmacy, we can go after the shipping companies that are all aiding and abetting and violating our state law.
All right. And he did specify to me, because I did ask, is there, for the people who are ordering these or receiving them, is there any crime or penalty? And he did tell me that there is not for the person who is taking the pill. It's only for officials who are sending that pill, mailing the pill, insurance or pharmacies that are filling that when they know they're not supposed to. So that is specifically what this is about. So we'll continue to follow along on where the bills that are similar to this go and what is happening there. So also a slew of bills that have died is the Senate's education bills. So that was a big topic of conversation, was when House Bill 2 was going on, the Senate was saying, well, we don't want House Bill 2, but we have proposed all of these other bills that we believe could be maybe a middle ground. Basically, one of them opened up the transfer portal, I guess you could say, in a way, for students in public schools, makes it easier for them to go from public school to public school. It made it so that their home, not homeschool, but their homeschool, the one they're currently at, cannot decline or say no to a student transfer so long as the receiving school is okay with it. So that died, as well as the Senate's raise bills, all of those. I say die, I need to go back and rephrase that a little bit. Technically, they did not die. They have not been voted on by the House. However, the House has said that they are done with the Education Committee. They're not going to look at these bills anymore. So they are going to die, essentially, in committee. That is what's going to happen. Because the House Education Committee is saying, we're done, we're not going to look at these anymore, we're not going to have any more meetings, then essentially these are dead. They're not going to ever be voted on. They're not going to meet that deadline for them to come out of committee, and they're going to die in committee. So that is what is going on here. Now, to say that, if you see a bill that the Senate has put forth and you're really passionate about it, that doesn't mean that you can't still call. There's still an opportunity there for you to call your local legislator or senator and tell them, hey, I really have an interest in this bill, and I'm upset that you guys aren't going to look at it. And maybe if enough people call, that'll change it. If not, then they're going to move forward, and there are still bills in the House that are related to education, that are related to student transfers and teacher pay raises and all of that stuff that they could still look at. It's just no longer going to be coming from the Senate. The Senate did pass the House did pass only 2 of the Senate's education bills. And those were Senate Bill 2294, which requires computer science and technical education classes, and Senate Bill 2103, and this deletes the requirement of counselors to abide by the American School Counselor Association Code of Ethics. So they still are held to a certain standard. They're just not held to this standard. They're held to the state standard. So once again, technically, these are not dead, but they will be. This includes teacher pay raises, the educator retirement, the ability for them to return, and they had updated some of those terms and conditions. At this certain amount of days, you have to be retired, and you can make this amount of money, and here's PERS. So that all died. As well as the no phone from bail to bail bill, that has also died. So any education bills outside of the Senate Bill 2294 and 2103 will now come out of the House. So I also need to make a correction from last week. I had said that the alcohol on Sunday bill had failed, and I need to make a correction on that. There are actually two bills, and so one of them passed and the other one failed. So, and they were pretty much the exact same thing. This is whether or not you're going to be able to go to the liquor store and get alcohol on Sundays. So, going to continue to watch that. I'm sure they will probably take it up this week, and hopefully we'll have an answer by Friday. Now, I want to say, I have not seen another one of these yet, but that doesn't mean it couldn't pop up. There are a lot of bills, but it does seem like the wine in grocery stores has died, because both Senate Bill 2916 and House Bill 674 died last week, and those would have allowed wine to be in grocery stores. We've had a lot of people ask, well, I can go into grocery stores right now and I can buy wine. I can go to Dollar General and buy wine. You can. The difference here is the proof of that wine, how much alcohol content is in that wine. So you're allowed to buy, beer and wine, 5% and under from grocery stores. This would be like wine that you can actually buy, that you have to go to a liquor store to get. So that is what this is about. The other thing or really the last thing I want to talk about is Senate Bill 2614, which is sheriff radars. This has been a huge topic of conversation this year and previous years and years before that, but especially this year, because this is the first time that a radar bill has actually made it onto the floor. They usually die in committee. They don't usually make it out, but so many people wrote radar bills this year, and this one did. However, it has been tabled, which tabled is not great. If you really want this bill to happen, it's not the best thing. It does not mean that it is 100% dead. So once again, you as a constituent, if you're really passionate about this bill, you can call and you can ask that they untable this bill. So don't think that I'm saying that there's no hope at all. I'm not saying that, but usually these bills do die. So this was a bill that grants sheriff's departments to have radar based off of population. So how many people reside in your county, based off of if the municipality, if you have a board of aldermen, or if you have a city council, they would have to vote and say, we want to give our sheriffs radars. And based off of essentially the sheriffs having to prove why they need those radars, what areas are you going to use them in? Is this a very high trafficked area? Do we see a lot of wrecks right here? So that died, and I would say that this is, from what I've seen, the people I've talked to, this is a really weird kind of just like straight down the middle of, some people are 100% for it and some are 100% not. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but I will say that it does start to look like a lot of counties are leaning towards giving their sheriff's radars. I talked to Forest County Sheriff Sims today. He told me that as far as he knows, over 20 municipalities across the state have already put in an ordinance saying that the moment this passes in the legislature, they're going to take it up. They're going to give their sheriff's radars. And the reason for that is because Mississippi is still the number one, we are at the very top of the list, leading in death-related car accidents, and a huge majority of those are speed-related. And we are, over 2,000 kids die a year, children, teenagers, in car-related accidents car accidents that are related to speed. So, and a huge majority are coming from Mississippi. So we talked to Forest County Sheriff Sims about what that looks like for them. Why is it important that the sheriff's office has this? Because, over the the last couple weeks, we have talked to some of the other people who are against this, and they've said that the speed traps and the money that comes into it, that's too much. So we've turned the pin a little bit. We're going to talk to some people who are for it. We're also going to talk to a grandfather this afternoon who lost his grandson to a speed-related accident. So he is going to talk to us about what that's like for him and why he is so passionate about this bill, and how this mostly affects our youth, our high schoolers who are getting on the road and new to the road. So tune in tonight, because we are going to hear from the family of Aiden. That is a 15-year-old who died as a result of a speed-related car accident, as well as Forest County Sheriff Sims is going to talk a little bit about some of those statistics and what they see on the daily. So that is everything I have that's died. We're going to try and end, because it's been a heavy 2 weeks. We're going to end on a little bit of a high note here, which was the South Jones High School Band. They have been commended for winning the 2025 Bands of America Grand National Championships in the legislature. So congratulations to them. We were able to, cover that a little bit over near the beginning of the year, and that's really awesome. They were able to do that. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to them. If you didn't know, the legislature, all of the state of Mississippi is very proud of you guys. So that's all I have for y'all. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, if you want to shoot me an email, you can at brooke.parker@wdam.com. Please feel free, if you see a bill that you really want talked about or you think is interesting, to email me and let me know, and tell me if you have any questions about what we've talked about today. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like. And that's all we have. I'll see y'all next week.